Hey guys, today I am going to talk about Frogan's GoFundMe. Her GoFundMe being used, or in her exact statement, in her description, she says she will be using the GoFundMe for personal usage. So Frogan's lawsuit defense fund, having raised $35,000 plus dollars, the average income for an individual in the US as of 2023, which is the latest data, is only $39,000. So she almost raised the amount of money that most people make in a year, the median person makes in a year, which is more fair than average. She will use her money for bills and personal expenses. Let me let me reply that again. Bills and personal expenses from loss of wages, but there is no loss of wage because to have a wage, you would need a job. Now, you can say Twitch is her job, but I would say she has really continued to Twitch and stream. So there is a issue. I have an issue with all these influencers who are much wealthier than you, and you might be like, "Oh, Tony, isn't that you?" I've never asked you to donate. I don't super chat. We don't do super chats because we simply don't do live streams. I don't have a Patreon. This channel has never had a Patreon before. You can Google that. And this channel never has had a sponsor before. Again, you can Google or watch any of my videos. We don't do any of that stuff. We've never had a GoFundMe, a Kickstarter. I feel like, hey, if I want to start a business, and this is because I'm business minded, I don't want to rely on crowdfunding to start the business, right? Because then again, I would feel bad. This is just me. I would feel bad for taking your money. So I was sued, and this happened for 4 years. So during the time period where I could have asked for money, I did not, because it was my issue, it was my problem, and I had to deal with it. Now, my lawyer cost a good chunk of money. I could have crowdfunded. I probably got a few $100s from you guys to buy more Uber, to tip my Uber Eats driver better. That's what I do with the entire income. Is I tip Uber Eats, right? Because I feel like they get way underpaid. So if you do the math and they're using the car, they pay auto insurance and so on. I watched an episode and I was just like, oh, yeah, oh shit, these guys are getting underpaid. We just had Denny's last night at 2 a.m. Who the hell is going to deliver you Denny's at 2 a.m.? So back to Frogan. There is a epidemic of these influencers, from Carl Jobs to Frogan to Dennins, for just begging their subscribers for money and not actually delivering on what they promised to do. So this $35,000, it's called a legal defense fund. If your plan is just to evade, evade the law, and I heard Bad Empanada, we'll get to him a little later, is very similar here. If this is the plan, is just, hey, we're just going to, why did you need to raise the money, right? And this is what I asked about Carl Jobs and never received an answer for him. If not, a billionaire is paying your legal bills, why do you need to raise $200,000 from your, you're blessed enough to have a literal billionaire just pay off your legal bills on a case that you lost completely. This is my same thing with Frogan. I understand Frogan has fans, but my point being is, if it wasn't Ethan suing her, she wouldn't have nearly half the donations or anywhere close to $35,000 she has. And instead of being grateful, she's going to use it for bills and personal expenses. She even tells you in the description, unlike Dennins and Casey Tron, who are probably doing the same thing, to be quite honest with you, right? Because it's really easy to fund. There's no invoices. There's no legal. Let me promise you this. When you hire a lawyer, they're going to ask for a retainer. Okay, they're going to ask for you to pay for things up front. And they're going to invoice you every month. They're going to send you an invoice. They're going to have a detailed description of how many minutes, to the minute sometimes, you spent with them talking about this, how many minutes they spent sending an email, what they did with their time. None of this has ever been uploaded for Carl Jobs, and Carl Jobs had 2 GoFundMes. Do I expect any of these free individuals to ever show any evidence of what their lawyer cost? Absolutely not. And this is the whole transparency aspect to crowdfunding that I do not like. I did a Kickstarter. It didn't deliver my board game. It went belly up, and then nobody got their money back. That was my only experience with crowdfunding, was a very, very bad experience when it first begun. One of my friends from NYU was one of the first 10 employees at Kickstarter. So she convinced me to put, hey, it's a great company, da 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 da. So I put my money in. I never got it back for that board game. It was a really expensive board game. It looked pretty cool. I mean, when people were spending that much money on marketing, you think that they could actually turn out like a decent board game. Here, the crowdfunding here is it's just too much. In my personal opinion, you shouldn't be crowdfunding your legal defenses. I saw another guy on YouTube. I'm not going to point fingers here, but I'm going to tell you him. Supposedly, he was doxxed. He was making a video that wasn't great about Boruto. Boruto is the son of Naruto. And supposedly he got doxxed. I'm skeptical of that now. I made a video supporting him and saying what he should do. And then he raised a bunch of money, supposedly got a lawyer. Lawyer never had a name and never had any evidence. He got a lawyer. And he was supposed to sue the person who doxed him, and he never did. And where did that money go? The money just went straight in his pocket. This is like the biggest scam on YouTube. Is you raise money for a legal defense, right, that you're not going to do. So Denon, for instance, she could have easily kept her money. Now, she did refund her money because he was never intending to sue Ethan. But the scenario that Denon's played out, she is actually entitled to that money because he could have just taken the money and say, oh, I'm going to sue Ethan later. That's exactly what I think this YouTuber did. They used these excuses to raise a large chunk of money so they themselves can keep it. For instance, Carl Jobs, he raised $200,000 for himself. Had he won against Billy Mitchell would have to pay that $200,000. Carl Jobs has admitted he had no way to refund anyone. The money was already gone. There was no way to refund it. So when people felt they were misled, they asked Carl for refunds, and he just said no. So had he won, because he said there was no actual way to refund. So had he won, the $200,000 would have gone straight to his pocket. Now, supposedly he was going to have a pizza party or a gaming conference, and people tell me that's very expensive. I don't think he ever had any intention to do that. We will never know, but that's my opinion of the individual. So that $200K would just go straight to his pocket. And that's why he was so eager to be sued, and that's why he dragged the lawsuit out for so long and refused settlement. Here, it's the same thing, right? The longer the lawsuit drags out, the more you can link to your GoFundMe and the more money you get in. It is a travesty, I think, in our society that OnlyFans, I can talk about a million different things here. Keep the money for yourself. I always tell you this. I don't need the money. People criticize me. Oh, you got a super chat for $10. The money goes straight to Uber Eats delivery, dude. I mean, and not even. I probably tip on top of that. And if I do eat it, I don't eat at restaurants very often because 1-year-old babies just kind of tough to bring. But all that money goes to tips anyway because I appreciate service. Like, I'm not going to undertip you because I make. I think this month I made $600, $800. That's all going to Uber Eats tips. That's all going to animal shelters. It's such little money in comparison to like what my actual job is that I cannot like understand. Like, it's way better for you to keep, so that's AdSense. The only money I have is AdSense. I don't get super chats because we don't go live. I don't have a Patreon because I just refuse to make one. I don't have any sponsors. I don't have a Kickstarter. I don't have a GoFundMe. I will never have these items because I think it is better for you to keep the money for yourself because Frogan is spending the money on McDonald's. And it's a joke, but it's actually in her description. She will spend the money on bills and personal stuff. Well, holy shit, like, why don't you spend the money that you would donate to Frogan on your bills and your personal stuff? Because I'm positive Frogan is much richer than you or even me. I'm almost certain that Frogan makes more money than... I'm almost certain she makes more than $200K a year. Anyway, let me know if you guys agree or disagree in the comment section below. Bye, guys.